Mr. Boy.
Here we are, Sunday morning, football trash talk for real fans. 2 weeks removed from the Super Bowl. Atticus joining us this week along with Chris. I don't know. I'm interested to hear Atticus' thought on the Super Bowl, so he wasn't here last week. But we also have some big news. Well, me being an Eagle fan, I call it big news, for the week. And what's that going to do to the rest of the quarterback carousel? So, I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of other shit we can talk about. Kellen Winslow II's got a new sentence for his legal troubles, things like that.
Former Brown, baby. Former Brown.
High hopes, man. High hopes for Kellen Winslow II, man. His dad was a beast.
He looked like a beast in college. He was going to be the Jeremy, he was in the Jeremy Shockey mold, and he didn't really do a whole lot either. So,
well, and I think Shockey and Winslow were probably Gronk and Kelsey before Gronk and Kelsey, or at least projected to be.
Yeah.
They're
just like, I call it the Clowney effect. They had like that one play, like in college, it just pops in everyone's mind, and like they never live up to that one play. Like, Clowney had that one where he tackled the dude from Michigan and his helmet goes flying. Yeah. Shockey had a similar play. I don't remember, or maybe it was when he was on the state. He had like a play, and I can just remember he caught the ball and like blew up two different like linebackers and scored a touchdown. I don't remember if that was when he was on the Saints or when he was in college, but
he had a play for the Giants in his rookie year. I want to say it was in preseason where he just trucked a dude on the sideline. Right. And I was like, "Ooh, this guy is going to be a problem." I think Atticus remembers that one. Like, he blew him up. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, I even forgot he got drafted I thought he got drafted by the Saints. So that shows how how big of a career Jeremy Shockey had, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely had some Mark Bavaro just in his DNA, the way that he played the game. So he was missed. We were upset when he left the team and joined the Saints, but he didn't want to be there at that point either. So
did he do anything remarkable for the Giants, Atticus?
He led us all the way to the championship, but he couldn't play in the Super Bowl because he broke his leg or something. He was amazing.
Like you would say he would, like, him above all people led you, like, so this would have been what, 2007? 8? When did you guys?
This was in 2000.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah. What I would say is he was a key component in us being able to advance to the championship game and subsequently the Super Bowl. Like, without him, we probably would not have gotten there. I mean, his energy, the way he played the game, he was great pass protection, run blocking. He wanted to catch the ball all the time, though. He didn't enjoy run blocking, but he did it well. Right. And like Mike alluded to, like, he trucked dudes. It wasn't just in a preseason game. He did it pretty consistently. He left dudes saying, "What happened?" So he posterized a lot of guys, and he made an impact, and he continued to do it when he went to New Orleans. But I think when he got to New Orleans, he started to go on a downturn more than continue on that upward trend. So, but yeah, he made his mark for sure.
He caught 50 plus balls every season except for one with the Giants, which is at a time when tight ends weren't catching 50 plus balls a season.
That's true, man. That's crazy though, because if, like, you ask me, Jarrett, like, I like to have that big of an impact on the team. I feel like I would remember him more, but Jesus, I can't. I vaguely remember him being on the, like, until we talked about it here. I forgot he got drafted by the Giants. I remember him being on the Saints and not being that great. So,
no, he was good. Big personality. He was like he had an Odell Beckham Jr. personality back then.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which it was safer to have that personality back then because you didn't have the constant. I think Odell Beckham is Odell Beckham now because he's on, like, we have like 24-hour access to these guys now, like, because they post and every little thing they do is like analyzed, like, ad nauseum, like on TV. Like, it's like, Jeremy Shockey back in 2000, like, even though that was only 20 years ago, like, the internet wasn't Facebook didn't even exist then. So it's not like he did, did we have YouTube in 2000? I don't think so. So it's not like, so it's not like, he did something and it was analyzed by like 15 people like us, every second of what he did. So that's it's really crazy when you think about that. Like, I often wonder, like, and this is going to veer wildly off topic, but it's kind of like comparing LeBron to Jordan in a way. Like, we don't get, like, when we look at LeBron, we look at everything he does, what he does off the field, what he does on the, off the court, on the court, blah, blah, blah. Jordan, we don't do that as much because back when Jordan was playing, he wasn't covered 24/7 like LeBron in a way is. Now I get LeBron puts some of that stuff out there, but it's just a different ball game now. These guys are way more accessible than they ever were when we compare them like to people even 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. I think that Jordan would have had a tough go with the media coverage based on everything that you say and do. And in this day and age, it was different back then because Jordan was a motherfucker, to be quite honest with you. He was not the nicest guy to be a teammate with back when Jordan was playing. And some people really didn't like the way he was, but they knew that he bred a winning culture. So they put up with it. I mean, these guys were smoking cigars and drinking in the locker room back then. That wouldn't fly in today's league. So,
well, even just some of the quotes we know about, like, and with
the
that,
ones we know about.
At the risk of getting this political, could you imagine if LeBron James today said, yeah, I don't worry about political issues because conservative or Republicans buy jerseys too. Like, if LeBron was to say something like that in this climate, someone's head would, like, Ted Cruz's head would explode. Like, it would just be, there'd just be a tweet storm for days over something like that.
And Jordan's a private dude, man. He even today, he's still a private dude, like he doesn't like that shit. He doesn't like being blasted all over the media. Like, I'll do my commercials and you'll pay me millions of dollars and that's good. I'm an icon. That's all people need to know about me. Behind closed doors, Atticus said it. He was a motherfucker. Like, it didn't matter what they were doing. Playing pool, playing pickup sticks, didn't matter, right? Like, he's going to
illegal gambling that crept out too.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
My favorite Jordan conspiracy theory is that when he left to play baseball, it was at the behest of David Stern, because something gambling, something loan shark, something integrity of the game. So he left for a couple of years to go play baseball.
something had to do with the death of his father. Don't forget that part, right? Like, it was the whole.
Not to make light of that, but I think that was like, at least the way I've heard these stories spun, is that was just a, like, I don't want to say convenient because I get there was the death of his father, so I don't want to say that, but that was just like added to the cover up more. That, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not, but it's not like he gave up sports altogether. He went and played another sport. It's not like he recluded and like had to deal with the death of his father. He went and he just played another sport. So,
but I think that like, you always hear that the comparisons, right? LeBron versus Jordan and whatever. And depending on what sport you go to, you'll have a different person for that sport. I don't think it's fair to compare different players from different generations where different rules and different societies were the factors. LeBron was unquestionably the greatest of his time. It's fun to talk about would he be better than Jordan. I'm sorry, definitely the greatest of his time. It's fun to talk about how would they have matched up at their peaks, but it's a conversation based on a hypothetical that would never, ever take place. Their games are even different. Listen, the stuff that LeBron goes through. LeBron's a great athlete. Don't get me wrong, but he looks for a foul when somebody breathes too close for him. Jordan took it to you, and he wanted you. He wanted the contact in some situations. It's a whole different league, a whole different attitude. It's a different way you play the game. So to compare them, we can do it, like you said, ad nauseum, but to what end?
Well, I'll take it a step further. We'll never know because there will never be the LeBron rules, right? There was the Jordan rules where he was prison raped anytime he hit the paint. Right?
Yes, like, he was.
Like, LeBron's a big dude. LeBron is a scary big dude, right? But, like, would he be able to maintain his level of play? I mean, you don't know. It's a hypothetical, right? But like if he was getting just fouled every time that he went to the paint, I don't know. Is he built
Right,
like
but
that?
at the same
Like
time,
they
at the
talked
same
about
time,
that
like
in the timeout too. They said in the timeout, hit him, make him feel it. He coming into the paint, knock him down. That's what they told them. You
I
can't
understand
do
that, but at the same time, like some of Jordan's most like memorable plays, like the hitting the buzzer beater against the Cavs, he pushed off and it didn't get called. Like he clearly
Right.
shoved the dude out of the way. That's why he was so wide open. So I mean, it goes both ways. Yes, I get it, but like it's not like the game's any less physical. They might call it more, but if I hit you, it's still gonna hurt whether it's a foul afterwards or not. Like it still hurts. It's still there. And I think LeBron is built like LeBron's like got what, like 100 pounds of muscle on Jordan. Like if
He's an
Jordan could
amazing
handle it,
specimen.
like if Jordan could handle it, like
Still,
so could LeBron. Like that's the thing. Like I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, if LeBron was playing back then, I don't think his game would alter that much. If Jordan was able to do
LeBron exists because of Jordan, though. Period.
that's fair. That's fair. Anyway, getting this back to football. Hey Lloyd, by the way, my dad watched the last episode and
Yeah.
he says you are the quintessential Philadelphian. So
right.
I didn't ask for clarification about what that meant, but there you go. He said I don't know much about Michael Lloyd, but he is a quintessential Philadelphian. So
I'll take that.
yeah, there you go. There you go. So we have at least one guy watching this podcast. So be on your best behavior.
Oh, we've been on our best behavior. Like we haven't even gotten dirty, man. Like, you know, the page can get a little savage from time to time, but we've been cordial here.
So I missed last week and I was really disappointed. I said to my wife, because I got the text, the invitation that it was going to be starting, and I got so caught up and consumed that it just wasn't able to happen. And you started off by saying you wanted to know what my thoughts were on the now 2-week-old Super Bowl that was played. And boy, did I get that one wrong, because I thought that the Chiefs were going to be way too much. I thought that they were going to rally behind their beleaguered coach with the stuff he's going through with his family. And Patrick Mahomes was way too athletic. And the running game and those receivers, I thought that between Kelsey and Hill, they were going to both amass 200 plus receiving yards. And I think it was Jordan who said, nope, you're wrong. It's going to be all about the defense. And boy, was she right. Todd Bowles should have been the MVP of that game. As a defensive coordinator, not a player, he should have been the MVP because he had Patrick Mahomes under pressure every time he dropped back to pass the ball. And then Patrick Mahomes falling down with 3 280 plus pound men about to land on him, still threw pinpoint passes to people who dropped them. It was disgusting to see that level of ineptitude in the Super Bowl from a quarterback who was running for his life all game long and not getting any help. And not for nothing. Listen, I'm not trying to throw nothing on no referees or anything, but the way that they were flagging the Chiefs, and you know, a flag oftentimes can go in either direction. The way that they flagged them in the second quarter, I think they picked up 7 penalties in that one quarter alone, and that killed whatever type of momentum you could have possibly been trying to get. That was disturbing too. From an officiating perspective and a fan perspective, that was disgusting to see that many flags called. But you never want to put the game in the hands of the referees to begin with. The Bucks came to play. Brady looked really good for a 43-year-old quarterback playing in the Super Bowl. And his receivers played with Leonard Fournette was a tank. Oh my God. They could do nothing to stop that man whenever he got the football. Their running game for the Bucks, they were just the Kansas City Chiefs were just totally outmatched in that football game. It was actually a terrible Super Bowl to watch from a fan perspective. unless you were a Buccaneer fan or Matt Hazen, you were like, this shit is just tough to watch.
It was like the Broncos versus the Seahawks. When it's or no, Broncos versus the Panthers, my bad. When they just shellacked the Panthers.
Yeah, that was a bad one too.
That was
I thought
terrible.
the Broncos and Seahawks was pretty good. Actually.
Yeah, that was a good Super
no,
Bowl.
Broncos Seahawks. Same thing happened. That was the first play of the game was a safety, and yeah, the Broncos never got it going in that one either.
But both defenses played well in that game.
I think the most telling stat from that game, and then I'll let Atticus get his final thoughts on it. But the most telling stat to me from that game is the fact that Patrick Mahomes ran 500 yards escaping people in the backfield over the course of that's crazy. That was an crazy. That is an actual stat. Patrick Mahomes, it's one of those next gen whatever stats, but he ran over 500 yards escaping the pass rush over the course of that game. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
And how about JPP? JPP looked real good. Giants, listen, are looking at this guy, and when we thought, that was a good trade, we had to get rid of him. It was time. He looks damn good. The guy's still playing at a very high level. Played at such a high level that he was one of the contributors to that stat that you just brought up.
Yeah, well, and how old is JPP? He's got to be getting up there, right?
Who's that?
JPP. He's got to be because he was on the Giants forever.
Oh yeah. He was drafted. I think it was in 2008 or 9.
Oh, okay.
No,
he's younger than I thought he was on the Giants.
2011 was his first year with the Giants, and we won a Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
2011. Yeah, so he's 10 years in. He's got a lot of wear and tear on that body and missing a couple of fingers. So
he's not the first guy in Florida that's happened to, but that's another story.
But that defense of Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles had those guys ready, and they showed up. And if coaches were able to receive the MVP, I think he should have been the one to get it for sure.
We all knew Tom Brady was getting the MVP, right? But there should have been somebody on the defense. If coaches can't get it, it should have been somebody on the defense. Ronald White, that dude had a game, right? I mean, that's the one. Shaq Barrett, he had a game. There was several people that could have been, co-MVPs. When you hold the Kansas City to 3 field goals, I don't think Tom Brady's the MVP.
Right. Well, and the thing is, Tom Brady played great as well, but I don't think he did anything we weren't expecting him to do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I said, like we said last week, Lloyd, you and I both predicted Tampa Bay to score about 31 points. So Brady, he did well, but we also expect that of Tom Brady. So I don't know if that the fact that they were there was based off of him doing that. So in the Super Bowl, I mean, I don't know how you give it to one defensive player. I guess that's the only problem. But no, Tom Brady did what we expected Tom Brady to do. So why that makes him most valuable, I don't know either.
And wasn't the Kansas City Chiefs offense, their offensive production for the 2020 season in the top 10 ever? And that defense was held to 9 points. I mean, has there ever been an MVP or player of the game issued to the defense? Which is
the Dallas Steelers Super Bowl, the MVP went to that cornerback that had the 2 game-sealing interceptions.
No, I'm not talking about to a player on defense. I'm talking about the defense, the unit, the defensive unit, because that would really mean they're giving it to the coach. You're right. I think they all shared it
for them in 2002.
Say it again.
Who won the MVP in 2002 when Tampa Bay won? I think because the defense shellacked the Raiders.
They were good.
When the Raiders had a pretty high potent offense, and they just destroyed them.
I'm sure with the wonderful world of Google, we can figure that out.
That's what we're consulting.
Dexter
right now.
Jackson, safety. Dexter Jackson, safety.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, I would have guessed, like, just if I was to guess a name, I would have guessed like Rondé Barber or something like that. I was like, I'd remember if it was Warren Sapp, so I knew it couldn't have been him. But
I thought it was Derek Brooks, but it wasn't.
He was a monster too, huh?
Craziness.
Yeah. So
And I just
don't
want to
know.
make one last point on the refs, right? Like, yes, there were a lot of flags, and if I'm correct, most of them were in the secondary. We never got to see if the same kind of calls would have been made on the other side of the ball, right? Because no one ever got loose down the sideline to give Mahomes an opportunity to throw those deep balls to see if we would have seen the same flag, right? Like, so like some of
Yeah,
the
thanks
calls
to
looked a
Spencer
little
Barrett
egregious, but we don't know if
and
it would have been called the same way, right? Like, I mean,
right.
Mahomes, the fact that he was able to throw some of those balls to people that weren't even open is amazing, right? But he
Yeah.
never got the opportunity to throw the long stretch ball to Tyreek Hill, right? Where I'm assuming there would have been some sort of penalty because that dude's pretty
Right.
fast.
Hey, do you remember I think it was I don't know if it was the first or the second Super Bowl that the Giants beat Tom Brady and the Patriots, where his wife went on social media and ripped Brady's teammates, saying, "You guys," and she caught a lot of flack and he caught some flack for her words, and she was right, right? But I don't think she could have been, if Mahomes' wife went on social media during that Super Bowl, said, "You guys are fucking trash. You need to help my husband out." Nobody would have argued with her.
she did say that about the refs. She went on about the refs.
She should have said it about her husband's teammates more than Brady's teammates, the refs.
Right.
Well, that's just me throwing it.
That's another that's another conspiracy altogether.
That's another conspiracy.
It's I almost feel like with reffing when Tom Brady's in the game, I feel like the refs should just in their minds, like, we're just gonna call a couple things on Brady, just because at this point, like I don't think they honestly are going in there plan, but it's happened so many times. They've literally changed rules in the NFL based off of calls made on Tom Brady. Yeah, but like it's to a point now where it's almost a meme within itself. Like, it's its own thing at this point. And
Yeah.
rightly or wrongly, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, if I was Tom Brady, I wouldn't argue anything either. I'd take every single one of those penalties, but it is almost comical how much you can, like, draw that line now.
You can count on it.
Yeah. Every game, there's gonna be at least one or two calls that's gonna bail him out. Yeah.
Yep.
The only time it didn't work is when he tried to convince them back in like week 6 or whatever it was that there was an extra down. That being said, I'd like to segue to something because I want to hear Lloyd's opinion, because then I got a little segment I want to do here in a few minutes. But Lloyd, there's a little trade involving the Eagles this week. How do you feel about it? Let's hear it.
I don't like it. I'm going to be dead honest with you. So I don't like it, but it had to be done, right? It's just one of those things where the damage was already done. And I think the damage was done long before they even drafted Jalen Hurts, right? Like, I think the team failed him on a recovery from injury standpoint. I think they failed him from a coaching standpoint. Nick Foles, and we joke about him, whatever, Big Dick Nick, that and the other thing, right? But like, having him still on the team couldn't have been comfortable, right? Like, yeah, I had an MVP like season, but this dude got us the win in the Super Bowl, right? Like, so there's a lot to come back from there. Never drafted anybody worth a damn. I think they all forgot that he was passing the practice squad players in a season where he's the only Eagle quarterback to ever throw for 4,000 yards. And he wasn't throwing to anybody with a name at all. This past season, like, he played like dog shit, right? Like, let's just be honest. But 50-50 though. Like, he had no line. 4/5 of his starting offensive line was not what it was projected to be. And then even after that, it was just kind of a rotisserie wheel of who's going to play fucking off guard this week, who's going to play tackle. You know, Lane Johnson's trying to come in and play on a bum ankle. It was terrible. And like when Jalen Hurts came in, I see two things, right? I see that he gave the team a spark, and he's a very likable dude, right? So there's that aspect. And I think Atticus might have said this last on one of his videos where, you know, the Philadelphia players cannot relate to duck hunting in Minnesota or North Dakota, right? Like they don't, they're a blue collar team. They don't go duck hunting, you know, and you know, maybe Jalen is more relatable. But from a quarterback performance standpoint, he didn't do better than Wentz at all, right? Like if you just go stat wise, he had a worse winning percentage. He averaged slightly more in rushing yards, not a whole lot, which you wouldn't even think. I would have thought that Jalen would have blown him away by like a yard or two, but it was like 0.2, you know, as far as average yards per rush. You know, overall QBR, Wentz was actually higher. You know, quarterback rating, Wentz was higher. Yards per catch, you know, Jalen had a slight lead. So, like, you know, statistically speaking, not that much better. And like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, right? Like, I think Indianapolis got a steal. I think that Wentz is going to be a problem in the South. I think the Titans are going to have a dogfight on their hands in that division, and we'll see. You know, I hope he is, but I kind of also hope, you know, the team doesn't do well because we have a pick depending on it, right? So that brings us to the Eagles. They're a shit show. They're fired. You know, it's just Howie needs to go. I still don't know how he still has a job. Like, I've read a lot of articles, you know, in the 10 years that he's been a GM, he ranks at the bottom of the GM class when it comes to you know, budgeting the salary cap appropriately, when it comes to drafting, and just about everything else you might think is a metric when it comes to being a GM. He is at the bottom in the league, right? Mind-boggling to me how we just didn't cut loose with him either. That being said, I'm going to be a little bit optimistic and wait and see when it comes to the Eagles, right? Like, they have 3 or 4 young offensive linemen that didn't play last year that were projected to be starters that will be coming back. Are they going to stay healthy? I don't know. If they stay healthy, that's a whole different ballgame, right? Like, we all like, I think the line dictates how you're going to do as a team. I just do, you know. And if your line is awful, you're going to have problems. You know, that's just the way it is. They have no cap room though. What is Howie going to do? You know, and what is he going to do with the 6th pick? Andy doesn't agree with me. I think they're going to take a quarterback. I just do. And that's a problem for me. If you bypass, I think it's what's his name, Jamar Chase from LSU, or Devontae Smith, or even Jalen Waddle from Alabama, right? One of those 3 is going to be there at 6. If you bypass them for a quarterback, that's a bad idea. You know, just the way I feel about it.
Well, especially after drafting Hurst last year, like you gotta, I don't know. I mean, the one thing I'll say is the whole like, well, Carson was into duck hunting and he doesn't, like, you know what? Y'all are professionals. Like, get over it. Like, I don't necessarily find interesting what my colleagues do on the weekend. They probably don't care that I do this, but I still go to work and do my job just fine. Like, you're a professional athlete. Like, okay, so you won't hang out with your quarterback when he goes pheasant hunting in the summer. Like, big deal. Like, I don't know if that's the worst thing. Like, meh. Like, that sounds like talk to me. Like, I just don't understand why that would be an issue.
Well, think about it this way. If you're a leader, right? If you're a leader of men, you lead your team in a way that they're going to gravitate towards it, right? Like, let's go to Bora Bora and throw passes on the sand, for 2 weeks. Let's go do that. And Bora Bora might be a stretch, but like, you should be in a servant leadership role when you're trying to get dudes to do something in the off season. Like, I don't want to go to North Dakota any time of the year, right? So like, why do I want to go to North Dakota in the off season to catch some balls and go duck hunt?
Well, and that's all fine and good, but that's also something we only ever hear about when like something like this happens, right? Like we never hear like who's the like Adam Schefter or who's the draft guy whose name's escaping me right now? Mel Kiper Jr. We never hear Mel Kiper Jr. talking. Like, I have no idea what Trevor Lawrence does in the offseason. Like, no one has given that report. And I don't think it really matters if he comes in and wins games. The only time we will hear about, oh, he likes to go deep sea diving for pearls, in January in Florida, will only come up if, 6 years from now it didn't work out and he's getting traded to some other team. Like, no one, that's not something that anyone worries about. It's not something that should be worried about. It's dumb. And these people, like, even if that's what he likes to do, even if he likes to leave Philadelphia and stay in North Dakota, you can go and throw passes at NDSU for a week and be fine. Like, if you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I shouldn't have to entice you with Bora Bora to be able to want to get better at your job. Like, grow up. You're all.
But why not go to Phoenix like most
that's
athletes
fine.
do?
Go wherever. I'm just saying, like, pheasant hunting is fine. Like, like I said, that's something that we only ever hear about when the quarterback's getting trusted. Like I said, right now, Mel Kiper is not doing research on what the top 5 quarterbacks like to do in the offseason because it doesn't matter. Like,
but they do know what quarterbacks are doing with their wide receiver teams and where they're going. You know what I mean? Like, we know that there's a handful of quarterbacks that go somewhere warm and run routes during the offseason, just throwing the ball. You know what I mean? It's not so. It's. I agree with you. Duck hunting shouldn't have anything to do with it, right? Pheasant hunting, duck hunting, whatever.
Was he not doing that? Like, do we know that he wasn't leading wide receiver powwows?
He was inviting them to his house in North Dakota.
Okay, so go to his house. Like, I
see what you're saying.
Somewhere, like, I don't understand.
But as a leader, you have to like, you got to be somewhat in servant leadership, right? Like, how is the player going to open up, have an open mind towards this off season? Something that's not mandatory, right? It's like, it's not even mandatory. So what is going to bring this team together? And as a leader, if duck hunting in North Dakota is not working, maybe you should have tried something else. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't working.
And I don't think that he's limited to duck hunting. He's got other activities, I'm sure, that he participates in where he could have extended an invitation to create some sort of off-season bonding with his receivers, and maybe that was a part of it. If he just was like, well, if you guys aren't coming to duck hunting with me, then fuck yous, and having some kind of attitude like that,
which would be kind of funny if that was what was going on. But yeah,
I don't know. I mean, the whole thing's bizarre what's going on in Philly, and one of the things when when you're trying to determine what had happened, and from watching different shows and different things that I do also. You look at every possibility and you start to get rid of those that are impossible, and whatever you're left with, maybe that's what it is. Who knows what's going on with, or what went on with Howie and Carson, and let's not forget about Jeff Lurie too, because he had a meeting with all of these guys, I'm sure, before this took place. And I think Mike brought up an interesting point. This happened long before the trade. This stuff was brewing. And I remember too, and we talked a lot about it, just being, trash talkers in a group, of how Carson Wentz would get injured. They would throw him in there injured for him to keep playing because they were trying to win a game. Like, they so poorly handled a good quarterback in Carson Wentz. He's not a bad quarterback. His escapability on the field is amazing. It's kind of like, like, I don't know how Ben Roethlisberger did it for so long. He would make a slight shift to the left and escape a sack, and Carson Wentz would have 4 guys converging on him perfectly, and he would somehow get out of it and throw a 20-yard pass for a first down.
And not just once.
On 3rd and 17.
Well, you know, the weird thing about Carson Wentz on the Eagles is, for a franchise quarterback who's getting paid franchise money, it never felt like Carson Wentz's team to me. Never once did I think like, oh yeah, they are gearing this for Carson. It always felt like Nick's here, Nick's here, Nick's, you know, it's like, that's what it felt like. The only thing I can compare to in sports was like when Michael Jordan left the Bulls and they made it to the playoffs, or they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals the next year. And Phil had been building up Scotty to be the alpha dog, right? Like all season long. And then crunch time comes and he draws up a play for Kukoc. Like, that's what it felt like.
And then Scotty sat on the bench.
Right, yeah. And Scotty sat on the bench.
Scotty took himself out of the game. You want to talk about another asshole.
But that's like the closest thing. That's the closest thing I can think of what it felt like. Because the entire time he was there, they kept propping him up as this guy. Like, it felt like every offseason we kept hearing, "Oh, this guy's the future." But then the season would come and all you'd hear about is like how the players like Nick better and how blah 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 Nick and blah 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 Nick. And they finally they finally trade Nick off or let him go in free agency, whatever happened there. And then they didn't give Wentz anything to work with. So just for a guy who was supposedly the future, they never treated him like he was the future.
That's a great point.
And I think we're also forgetting to talk about, like, no one's talking about this. Let's talk about the strength and conditioning team of Philadelphia, right? Like, we know that injuries are part of football, right? Like, it's going to be that way. But for the last 4 years, even the year they won the Super Bowl, the Eagles have had serious and plentiful injuries across the board. Like, what is going on there, man? Like, something's up. Like, just looking at this coaching staff coming in and just on eye test, I like them just because they look like they're young, in shape, hungry dudes. You know, like, and I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they all don't know how to coach football, but like, I just like the look of it because it brings a different vibe from a coaching perspective, you know, rather than the old adage of this fat, overweight former lineman in the NFL now being a head coach. You know, it's a new breed.
Yeah,
and I like. I'll take it from Andy Sirianni. Sounds like a fine wine. You know what I mean?
It sounds like what instead of Sambuca, I want to get the Sirianni. So before I forget, before Lloyd has a chance to change the subject, I alluded to a segment I want to do this week. Now, Atticus, if you don't have anything prepared, that's fine. But I just went ahead and found, based on the trade, which was a 3rd-round pick this year and a 2nd-round conditional first next year, which is going to be late rounds, late in the round, I should say. I went ahead and found some things in my room that I think also would have been suitable in this Carson Wentz trade. So, without further ado, first thing we have, it's a limited edition Zildrunas Ilgauskas Cavalier bobblehead. I got this in 2019. So market value about $20.
That's high quality, right
good.
there.
That's good. Yeah. Hold on. I got more. Got a back scratcher. This was bought for me at the Cleveland Clinic when I was in the hospital. Really good, actually, for a $5 back scratcher. Can't go wrong. So there's that. Hold on. I got more.
I think
for
it's
Christmas,
invaluable.
Someone got me a baby Yoda. I feel like this was a hot item. You know, how he could give this to his granddaughter or daughter, whatever he's got. I'm sure someone in his family could use a baby Yoda. And then I also, the last thing I'll throw in is I have a half-drag bottle of Smart Water, which I've been sipping on during this podcast. And I feel when take it in, like when you take it all together, I feel it's about similar value to what they got for Carson Wentz. Your thoughts, Michael Lloyd? Which is the better trade for you?
I have a Tide pen, right? Tide pen would have gone really well for that.
I have a
Packet of ketchup.
They give them away.
Man, I feel like I'm overpaying. Maybe I'm getting the short end of the stick. Can I take the Zildrunas Ilgauskas bobblehead back? Can I withhold that now?
Yeah. I mean, seriously though, when you look at the number 1 and number 2 drafted quarterbacks from not that long ago got traded for nothing. Like, and I don't think I don't know what happened to Goff. You know, I really don't. He's got a cannon for an arm, and I don't know what happened to their long ball, right? Like, from a fantasy perspective, I always look at the Rams receivers because you're good for some long touchdowns periodically throughout the season, right? And that hasn't happened in 2 years. So I don't know what happened to Goff. I think Wentz is going to be successful for a lot of reasons. One, I think he's better than the I think he got just bamboozled by the Eagles for whatever reason. And I think whatever Frank Reich magic there was, it worked. So bringing those two back together, I think is going to pay dividends in Indy. Plus, Indy has a defense, and they got a fairly healthy offensive line.
They have one of the better offensive lines, don't they? If
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
They
They have a
do.
run game. I mean, they
And they
have
have a run game.
receivers. So, you know, they have everything. Like I said earlier when I made that other post, like, I don't want another good AFC team. Like, I get not wanting to trade him somewhere in the East, but there are plenty of teams in the NFC he could have traded them to that I wouldn't have had to worry about till the Super Bowl. So thanks, Eagles. Thanks.
I don't think they wanted to trade him to the NFC. They don't want to face him, at any point in time, unless it's in a Super Bowl or every 4 years.
But outside of your conference, like outside of your division, you're not going to face him any more than you are if he's in the AFC, like except in the playoffs possibly.
Right.
And let's be honest, that's not something the Eagles are going to have to worry about. Like, not to knock them, but it's not like we're talking they're in Super Bowl contention next year.
Not Super Bowl contention, but they're still in the NFC East, which is still a shit show.
That's true.
Honestly, I think that since you brought up Jared Goff, I think that Carson Wentz is definitely a better quarterback than Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff has always been overrated, but I think the trades, even though the Eagles got the shit end of the stick on this trade, I think that the upside when we're talking about Goff versus Wentz is definitely in Wentz's favor.
Yeah.
Wentz is going to have a great career in Indianapolis. There's so many reasons for that too. I'm not going to get to all of them. Look at where Goff ended up going, to the Lions. They're getting a new coach. The team prior to their new coach were struggling. They've never done anything to help quarterbacks in Detroit. So whatever happens with, and no offense to Chris and your allegiance to the Browns, but the Lions are going to become that team that players go to die, their careers go to die. I don't think that they've done anything or shown enough in the most look at Megatron, an incredible player, and they did nothing to help him. They brought back a retread, and not to take anything away from Adrian Peterson, but you really thought that Adrian Peterson would do anything more than mentor your players over there? I mean, come on, the guy's old as me and Mike at this point. You know what I mean? So I think Wentz is going to have a great career. I don't know if they're going to still be able to strike that right chord that they had when they were together in Philly, Frank Reich and Carson Wentz, but all the pieces around him, he's going to have a really good career. Plus, he's got this prove it chip on his shoulder too. Fuck you guys. I'm going to show you what I am now.
Well, and I think that's the takeaway. I think that's why everyone's surprised at the trade, because I don't think anyone's out here thinking Goff is the better QB right now. And the fact that they get that in that trade, I guess there's more Stafford. I don't know. But
I got a question for Mike. Mike, do you think that Howie feels like they got the better deal by getting rid of Wentz? Or do you think he felt like we just need to cut and run at this point?
I think deep down he knows that they had to cut and run, but Chris said it best last week, right? When you treat your fucking franchise quarterback like garbage, you're going to get garbage in return. Like they had no leverage, right? And the teams in the NFL knew it. There was that bogus report that came out that the Bears were offering 2 firsts, Nick Foles and Roquan Smith. I was like, that's just ridiculous. That's not going to happen, right? The reality is, would I've liked to see in 2 seconds and one of those being a conditional? Probably,
Yeah.
but you weren't getting
Right.
2 firsts. You weren't. Wentz is worth 2 firsts, in my opinion, but you weren't getting it because you fucked up,
Yeah,
and I think Howie
his
will
salary,
never
too.
admit that ever. But if he doesn't know that, he's more of an idiot than I think he is.
If Stafford is worth 2 firsts and a starting QB, then Wentz is worth at least a first and a second. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether you consider Stafford or Wentz better, whatever. But like,
and based on age too.
Right? Yeah. I don't know. Stafford's got to be getting close to his mid-30s, right? And Wentz is still in his 20s, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, like.
And I know we like to call Wentz wheelchair, but Stafford's been in a wheelchair a few seasons.
Yeah. But you were right about the conditioning too, Mike. Listen, the Giants went through that. We led the league in injuries for like 5 years at one point. That is a huge part of your team is your strength and conditioning coaches. If you don't have the right people behind you, your team isn't going anywhere. It's like having a real nice sports car with ball tires on it. And that's what has happened with Philadelphia in terms of the strength and conditioning coaches over the past few years. They've not served you well.
So I did have one other request. Like I said, our one viewer, my dad, he is
our one viewer.
he's a Jacksonville, well, by proxy Jacksonville fan. He likes the Colts, that they're his main team, but he also watches the Jaguars because they're like within 2 hours of where he lives. So he wanted some hot takes on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Outside of drafting Trevor Lawrence and firing their strength and conditioning coach about a week after hiring him, or having him resign, whatever the case happened there, I don't really know a whole lot about the Jaguars. I think their uniforms are kind of but yeah, any thoughts on the Jaguars for our one fan? Just anything at all.
No, I mean, the only Jaguars from 4 years ago, maybe. The Jaguars of today, no. I mean, I like. Is it Minshew their quarterback?
Yeah.
I like him. I think that it was a terrible call to hire that strength and conditioning coach. I mean, for the guy to be hired, accept the job, and resign within 24 hours, I think it kind of says a lot about where the Jacksonville Jaguars are headed. They're already starting off on the wrong foot, but I don't know enough about them, to be honest with you. Is Coughlin still there? No, they let him go last year.
Yeah, they let him go too. Yeah, because he got into it with some players about something or other a couple of seasons back. One thing I'll say is I don't understand the Urban Meyer hire at all. The guy, he's a good coach. I'm not saying he's not, but he's good on the college level. And if coaching at Ohio State, where you're basically guaranteed, a run to the Big Ten championship at least every year, like if that stresses you out to a point where you have to quit, I don't know how you're going to handle the NFL. The only thing I could say about Jacksonville, like being the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars versus maybe Ohio State, is the expectations are going to be lower. And I'm going to go out on a limb and guess the Jacksonville beat writers are probably a little more lenient than the rabid Ohio State fan base. But if you can't handle college coaching where you're at one of the top 10 programs and half your schedule is against teams that are woefully, inept versus you, I don't know how you handle the NFL, where you're going to be losing on a lot more, on a lot higher frequency than you ever would in college football. So I do have questions about that hire, especially with Eric Bieniemy still out there, and other proven, offensive coordinators that you could have brought in.
I wish I'd have known that would have been a question. I would have done a little bit of research on them, but
yeah, you should give us a heads up on that one. But I think the Jags are one of those teams in the NFL that's in a smaller market that don't have the capital to really build for sustainable long term, right? So like that's
been their problem for a while too, Mike.
If they're able to keep Trevor Lawrence, if Lawrence actually pans out the way that he's projected to, right? Which that's not a guarantee at all, right? Like he could suck terribly.
Johnny Manziel.
But I like their rookie running back they got, Robinson. I like him. I think they got some good. They don't have a number one receiver, but they have some good 2 and 3 receivers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about their offensive line. Leftwich isn't there
their defense
anymore.
was great a couple years ago, but it got dismantled a little bit.
Right.
And they've all wanted out.
And talking about Urban Meyer, right? Yeah, all of them wanted out. They had a stacked defense a couple years ago, and they're all gone, right? And when we talk about Urban Meyer, right? Like, who didn't he consult in the NFL for the Browns?
No, there was always rumors
somewhere.
There was always rumors him linked to the Browns. The ones that consulted the Browns was Jim Tressel. He's the Ohio State quarterback that he worked for the Colts and then he consulted the Browns. But no, Urban Meyer, to the best of my knowledge, has never done anything with the Browns. Please don't surprise me by telling me that. I'd be surprised.
I think he's going to have a hard time.
The one thing you did say that I'd like to touch on is, do you think being in a quote unquote small market in the NFL matters? I think maybe player desire to be there might be like, out of all the NFL cities I could go to, is Jacksonville high on the list? Maybe not, but like there's a salary
should be
cap.
Though. It should be.
It's a zero tax state. Yeah, no, I mean, there are benefits to being there. I get that. But like, I guess I'm saying like appealing to, a 20 something year old NFL, whatever, to get him to come to Jacksonville. Like, yeah, I could see where they might rather be in Chicago or New York or anywhere in California. Like, I get it. But like, I don't know if being a small market has anything to do with it when it comes to the NFL, just because everything's on a salary cap. So everyone's paying the same amount of money anyway. Like Mr. Khan, the owner of the Jaguars, is not hurting financially.
And he's got a cool mustache.
He does. He's got one of the better mustaches in the NFL.
They got cool uniforms.
Yes, he does. And there's that.
I like the Jaguar.
The Jaguar is cool. Yeah, the Jaguar is fine. The whole aqua fading to gold thing. Meh. Ugh. I want classic. I want orange helmet.
You want puke orange on white is what you want.
Oh man.
Hey, listen, I'm probably in a minority and my wife hates to hear it, but I've always liked the Browns uniforms. And I've always, when I saw the Browns play, silently rooted for them to win because they were always such underdogs. So I'm not a closet Browns fan by any means, but I'd prefer to see them have some winning seasons than not.
I mean, it's okay, Atticus. This is a safe space. If you wanna
This
come
is
out,
a safe space.
if you wanna come out as a Browns fan, I got a couple jerseys I can get for you. It's not.
I'm sure you do.
I gotta get a new Eagles jersey now, fuckers.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mike. Are you behind Hurts, or you want to see somebody new? What are you hoping for?
I hope it works out. Is what I hope, right? Like, when Hurts went to
line, it don't matter who you got back there. But
no, when Hurts went to Oklahoma, when he was at Alabama, I didn't think highly of him, right? Because Alabama offense was Alabama, right? But when he went to Oklahoma, which is traditionally a passing offense, and put up the numbers that he did, I was impressed. I was like, wow, this dude can throw the ball, right? Now they bring in this coach that is a Hurts guy as their QB coach. Let's see what happens. Is he going to be able to get him to perform at a high level in the NFL? Right. Like, I think, I made a comment earlier about stats against him and Wentz, and a large portion of those stats was his last game of the season where he was 7 for 20, right? That's a bad game. If you take that out of the equation, maybe he blows away Wentz on average, just statistics.
Wasn't that a division game against the Redskins?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, keep in mind, what did you guys do to the Redskins in the first meeting of the season? They were up 17-0.
17-0,
You
and
guys
then
came back
lost.
and destroyed them. So they had a chip on their shoulder for that game too. And you can't take anything away from the Redskins' performance and throw that in a pile against Hurts, because I mean, and discard that when you're talking about Hurts' performance that game, because number one, your offensive line was at the end of the year and they were terrible throughout the year. But now you're talking about the last game of the season, and you got a team that knows they're not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So they weren't trying to really, I'm not saying they weren't doing their jobs, but they really weren't trying to help Hurts. Number two, you had a Washington defensive front that was good. Say what you want about Washington. Their defense and that defensive front with Chase Young and the rest of those guys, they were really good. And Hurts's credit, Hurts still found a way to put points on the board with that pass rush, without his running game, the running backs really helping him. The coach had really given up on the team as far as I'm concerned. The offensive line was not playing well. He still found a way to put points on the board for you guys. Now, there's a lot of questions about, is he the passer that Wentz was? Probably not. But is he somebody who you guys can rally behind as a team with a decent offensive line and see him taking you guys at least to an 8-8, maybe even a 9-7, a winning record for the season?
I agree with all that, right? And a couple things, and then I'll get off the Eagles, right? Like, I think if he doesn't have the arm strength that Wentz does, like, that's a given. But if he gets a receiver that can create separation, right? Like, he could put the ball where it needs to be, so there's that. You talked about Washington a little bit, and 2 out of 3 of us are NFC East fans. I think Washington's a problem. If they get a quarterback, they are a problem in the NFC East. Their defense is the best in the league, in the division. I think the Giants are probably second. I think the Eagles have the best defensive line, but they're questionable at linebacker and in the secondary, right? But I think it's a really and Dallas is, unless they do something drastic, they were historically bad as a defense last season, historically. So, I think Washington's a problem, and I like their coach a lot. I think that he did a great job in Carolina. The fact that they let him go blew my mind, right? But it's just one of those things, like their time was just up. It's kind of like Andy Reid in Philly. His time was up, but Rivera can coach in this league, and he can rally players around him, and they're going to be a problem.
Yeah.
The one thing I'd like to touch on is I think arm strength is slightly overrated when we talk about quarterbacks. I mean, if you look at the final 4 quarterbacks this year, Rodgers has good arm strength. I don't think anyone's going to say Tom Brady's got the best arm strength in the league. I don't think anyone's going to say Drew Brees has the best arm strength in the league. Baker Mayfield, I don't think anyone would say he's got one of the better arms, like as far as arm strength goes in the league, yet he uncorked a 70-yard bomb or whatever in that one game. It didn't get caught, but I think it was in the Ravens game. He threw it from like the 30-yard line and it hit the other field goal base of the field goal post. So I think accuracy and timing, and the ability to make split-second decisions is way more valuable than arm strength. Peyton Manning, one of the best quarterbacks, I think anyone would agree in the league, didn't have what many would consider the best arm strength at any point in his career. So I think I've always considered that one of the more overrated things. Really quick, one last little thing I kind of thought of that I think would be kind of fun to go through, before we wrap this up. We kind of touched on when we asked Loy if he would get a Hurts jersey. If you were to switch, and we'll just do the NFC East today because you guys are both NFC East fans. If you were to switch allegiances today to a different team, what jersey would you buy for that? Whose jersey would you buy for that team? So we'll start with the Eagles and we'll just go through the East real quick. So Atticus, if for whatever reason today you decide, you know what, screw the Giants, been burned too many times. Chris Groban's been right. Danny Dimes is way overrated. I don't like the Giants anymore. I like the Eagles. What jersey do you buy?
A guillotine and kill myself.
Why does it have to be the Eagles? Can't he pick his own team to go to?
Well, we're gonna go through each team. We're gonna ask you, and then we're gonna ask
So
me.
you're saying now I'm an Eagles fan? I have
Yeah,
to
now
pick
you're an Eagles fan.
player?
Just hold it in for hold the throw up back for a minute and just spit out a name.
Current player or a past player?
I mean,
Sorry.
let's do current. Let's do current because I feel like past is too easy. If you were to buy a
Okay.
current player's jersey.
Current player on the Eagles. Who could I rally behind enough to buy their jersey?
And we'll do the Giants next. You can talk about what Giants jersey you want to buy. I just want to go through each team real quick, see what kind of answers we get.
I get a Sanders jersey.
Okay. Loy?
I like him. He's good player.
If I was, what team do I
still,
got to pick?
No, you're still an Eagles fan. What New Jersey do you buy? We'll just pretend you're not an Eagles fan. You're gonna go be an Eagles fan for the first time. Whose jersey do you buy?
Brandon Graham.
Who?
Dude, come on.
I'd go with a Chip Cox jersey. That's who I would grab if I was gonna go.
See, I already got one of those, so.
Well, that's why I said pretend you're not. Like, just pretend you're not. So, Atticus, pretend you're not currently a New York Giants fan, and you just decided today to be a New York Giants fan. You have no jerseys. Whose jersey do you buy?
Probably a Bradbury.
Loy?
What team?
The Giants.
Fuck. Saquon.
That's where I go. I go Saquon. I have his Penn State jersey, so obviously I would get his New York Giants jersey as well. And I get it in white too. I like the Giants white jerseys. That being said, let's go down to the Cowboys. You guys are becoming Cowboys fans today. What jersey do you get?
Can't do it. That's the end of the road for me, bro, with this experiment. Let's see. Current player for the Cowboys. Who would I go with? Maybe Van Der Esch.
See, that's where I would have gone. I would have gone Van Der Esch, or I would have gone, throwback to Emmett, because as much as I hate the Cowboys, I really enjoyed watching Emmett run the ball. I like watching Zeke run the ball. I just can't stand a dude to get his jersey.
Yeah. I would say if assuming Prescott resigns, I would get his jersey, and if not, I would go Van Der Esch as well. If I was going to get any throwback jersey from the East, I would get a Victor Cruz jersey if I was just to go buy, or a Weapon X jersey. Those are the two. If I was to get throwback jerseys from the NFC East, that's who I would go after. Finally, we got the Washington football team. Loy, who do you go? Where you go jersey wise on the Washington football team?
You got to go with 99.
Davis?
No, it's Chase,
99.
right?
No, Atticus. Sorry,
Davis.
Who's 99? Chase Young?
Yeah.
Oh, he's Chase. I didn't know what his number was. If I'm going with a Redskin player, a current player, I'm going Alex Smith because of what he was able to come back from.
that's who I'd say Alex Smith, assuming he resigns. If not, Chase Young probably.
I think he needs not resign. I think he's got nothing to prove. And to me, he's playing with fire if he comes back for another season.
Right.
Yeah. And the coaching staff's playing with fire.
Yeah.
I think all time though, I go a Zonk jersey, just for no other reason than the name was Zonk. Zonka. What was the quarterback's name? Was it Zonk or was it Zonka? Or am I thinking a wide receiver? I don't follow the Redskins a whole lot, so
Zonka played running back for the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
Am I that off?
You're thinking of Art Monk. You're thinking of Art Monk?
There we go. Sorry, Redskins fans out there. I don't know your team very well, obviously.
Yeah, he was a problem.
I'd have to go throwback to Sean Taylor.
Oh, there you go. Good call. I forgot about that.
Just a sad case right there, because that dude was a problem.
Yeah, he was.
So I think my mission's complete. Seeing Atticus's face as he had to decide what Eagles jersey he wanted was worth the price of admission.
It was tougher with the Cowboys, believe me.
And I agree with that, Atticus.
Yeah.
If you guys want, we can do the AFC North next week so I can decide a Steelers jersey. I will say ahead of time, I'm going to get it in the if I was to get a Steelers jersey, it would be in that ugly B stripe prison looking uniform they
Oh
have.
God, those are horrible. Even for
Just so when I
Steelers
immediately
fans.
just so when I immediately burned it afterwards, I wouldn't feel as bad because those things are ugly as crap. Anyway, I feel like that's a good place to end it today. We've been on here for over an hour. You guys got anything else you want to throw out there?
In light of something that came up this week where you sideballed us with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I say let's pick a division that's not one that we like and talk about that next week.
Yeah.
Like, let's pick a division right now.
You know, just
or let's pick two, an AFC and an NFC.
So
division.
I think a good division to start that with would be the AFC West. I feel like that's a good division because you got the Chiefs, but then you also got a couple other up and coming teams in there, some good young quarterbacks. The Raiders are in trade talks, so I feel like that's a good division to start with. A lot you can talk about there, and you guys can pick an NFC division.
Let's just stay on the West.
NFC West. Okay.
Let's keep it simple.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, we'll research and that way we'll come from a more educated place. We won't be giving Miami running backs to the Washington Redskins all-time players list. So my bad on that. My bad.
And I know it's an NFL talk, but Atticus, we're going to make another bold statement like the Knicks are going to be above 500 next week. Oh, we're going to
Oh my God. I can't believe we fell apart to the Magic like that. Unbelievable. But
back to back.
I can't even understand that. But hey, you know what? I think we got a tough stretch coming up. It's going to be difficult to do it now. But for some reason, late this year's New York Knicks team plays the tougher opponents much better than they do the doormats of the league. I don't understand it. I'm going to root for them to the bitter ends. I tell you this, the other day when we were playing the Magic, I usually, no matter how bad it gets, watch the game from buzzer to buzzer. This game, I turned it off when there was under a minute to go because I was so disgusted. Not because I'm not used to losing, because we have perfected losing, but because we should have beat these guys. This year, the Knicks are different. It's like this year, the Browns are different. It started last year. This year, the Knicks are different. So I really thought that even though we were up 17, found ourselves down 17, we would still find a way to win that game, and it didn't happen, and I was disgusted. To answer your question directly, I don't know, Michael. I don't know. I'm very hopeful. And notice I didn't call you Mike. I called you Michael.
Uh-huh.
That's how serious he is. I think the NBA is hard because it's very rare you get a consistent team night in and night out. Like even when outside of like 70 win teams, even the Warriors back in their heyday, 4 years ago would lay in it, just come out and shots wouldn't fall, and they're just like, whatever. It's the whoever we're playing. It's one game, meh.
Right.
And it's off a back-to-back where they took the red light. Like it's hard in the NBA consistently to see like just a team.
To your point, we've won 14 games this year. One of the teams that we won, I'll point out two of them. One of them that we won, we blew out the Kawhi Leonard led Los Angeles Clippers. Blew them out. We also destroyed the Boston Celtics, something that never happens. So these are two of the teams that and then you look at some of the teams that we've lost to. We lost to the Cavaliers, and we lost. And we lost to the Magic. Like, who does that? It's just, you're right. You're right. You never know what team we shot under 36% the other day. That doesn't happen.
Well, the Knicks are really young, right? Like
they are.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have that. They don't have like a lot of veterans on there steering the ship, so I'm sure. Nights out, they're playing games out, and I'm sure they're thinking, oh yeah, I can stay out till 1 a.m. doing whatever. And, so
well, they're not doing that now with COVID, but
that's true.
I believe in our team. I love our team this year. I think we got a real nice foundation. IQ is just unbelievable. That kid's going to be really good for a lot of years. Randall is playing. He's playing not MVP basketball, but certainly all pro basketball. He should definitely be on the all-star team. I don't know if he got picked, is going to get picked. I don't even care, but he should be, because he's not only is he playing very well, but he's also elevating the game of the players around him right now, which is really cool to see. But the X factor with the Knicks right now is Mitchell Robinson is out for about 6 weeks with a fractured hand, and he was just such a dominant force, a huge distraction in the paint. He's a hard guy to replace. So that, I don't know. We'll see. I'll be watching every day though. Go Knicks.
I think I'll say this about the Knicks in all seriousness, right? Like, I think they got a lot of young talent, and they have plentiful amount of it, right? So how do they, and I mentioned this a week or so ago, how do they attract the superstar, right? Like, they need something to gel all that young talent together. Is it already on the team? I don't know. I mean, I think Randall's a nice side piece, right? But like, imagine if a KD played in New York with Randall on the team, right? And the rest of those guys, they're a different squad, right? They're not 14 and 16. They're more like 20 and 10 or something along those lines.
Kevin Love is available. Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, he's too injury prone. Listen, you're right, Mike, because there's one of the New York sports broadcasters who covers the Giants games. He always says that you need a Batman and a Robin.
Yeah.
Randall is a good Robin. He's not your Batman. So if we can find that Batman, and we're in good position to do that right now, we'll be okay. And I failed to mention that Derrick Rose coming over, initially, I was like, why did we get him back again? Like, why are we doing this retread that the whole league's trying? And Derrick Rose has come in and fell in like a glove. Like he's been playing there the whole year. It's pretty impressive what Tibbs has done with the Knicks backcourt. But he plays Rose and Quickly at the same time. And where Rose is the shooting guard and Quickly's the point guard. And that combination has worked. I never thought it would, but it's working really well. So we'll see what happens. I think that we will make the playoffs this year. I'll make that statement, Mike.
One last thing I want to throw out there. During the course of the conversation here, I did finish that bottle from my Carson Wentz trade. I did finish that. So I'm going to have to take that out of the trade, and I'm going to include a signed copy of Strange Planet by Nathan Pyle. If you guys haven't seen these, fun little comic strip. I'm going to throw that in the trade because I did finish the water. So that's for you, Loy.
Man, it is so amazing to see how 1 year in the playoff after a decade or so of nothingness changes the entire demeanor of a football fan.
This has been building, though. Like, I've been planning this type of stuff for 10 years. This is 10 years of trash talk that's been building up.
1 year, Mike.
This is like Atticus's stash of memes on his hard drive that he's been holding on to for the last 5 years, waiting for the Eagles to fucking fail. That's what it is.
Man. It was great, too. Oh, man.
All right, gentlemen, I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
That is. All right, see you next week, guys.
Have
a good one. Be safe.
Take care.